Welcome to Odense Robotics StartUp Fund's very first online talk show, a new format where we try to dive into topics that are important for you as a robotics startup. My name is Troels Petersen, and I am a business development manager in the Odense Robotics StartUp Fund. We are an incubator that helps early-stage startups within robotics, drones, and automation to build and scale their companies. And today we are broadcasting from the incubator itself. This talk show is live, and that means that there is room for your input. If you have any questions or comments during the session, just type them in the Q&A chat, and we will pick them up at the end of the show. Today, we are focusing on from innovation to investment, which is a key topic for any early-stage robotic company when they are navigating the road to funding. And we are joined by two exciting guests, Thomas Visti, an investor and former CEO of Mobile Industrial Robots, and Kenneth Skorpen, CEO and co-founder of Blinktroll Robotics, which is a startup that is based here in the incubator and that has recently secured a significant funding. So, what are investors really looking for, and what should startups be aware of when they are navigating the road to investors? Let's dive into that. First of all, we are pleased to welcome Thomas Visti. Hi, Thomas. Great to have you with us.
Hi, Troels.
You had an incredible journey from being in robotic companies and to now being an investor. And we're excited to have you here and to share or to have you share your experience and your perspectives on what it takes to become investment ready for robotic startups. But maybe let's start with your journey. Could you tell us a little bit more about how that transpired and going from in robotics companies to the role as an investor?
First of all, thank you for the kind words, and also thank you for the invitation. It's a new and exciting setup, I think. I'll try to explain a little bit about how I came into the robotics. Actually, I had first 8 years with international sales at Danfoss, and then a small local robot company was trying to recruit a new sales director, and luckily for me, it ended up being me getting the job at a company called Universal Robots. So probably many of you out there also know, hopefully. At that time, I think there was 7-8 employees or something like that. I had the position as sales director, but was the only one in the sales organization at that time. And actually should try to build up the company commercially globally, starting up with finding distributors and partners in Denmark, and then afterwards going global, opening offices around the world. I left Universal Robots back in 2014. And became CEO of MIR, Mobile Industrial Robots, at that time with the founder Niels Juel Jacobsen. And we built it up, a global company also there, scaled it pretty fast. I think from 2015 to 2018, we more or less was a global company with offices around the world and 250, 300 employees. And the first really introducing mobile robots into the industry also. So that's a bit of my background into robotics. Both companies was acquired by Teradyne, and I left MIR after being CEO reporting to Teradyne 2 years. So that was back in 2020. started up my own startup community, Visti Unlimited, where there's today like 35 startup companies meeting in more or less every day. Since 2020, I worked 100% with investing into startups. I have a portfolio of 10, 12 companies, mainly tech companies that has a global potential. I have a few other types of investments, but it is mainly tech that I invest into today.
Yeah. And maybe we can go back to why you decided that. But then first off, or as a first thing, can you tell us a little bit, when you work as an investor in looking for tech companies, what are then the characteristics that you look for in the startups that you could consider investing into?
Yeah, for sure. Now I've been working as investor for 6 years, 100% you can say. So for me, it's getting more and more clear that it is the team. Even that I knew that in the beginning. I think I said that to myself. I think after being working as investor for 5-6 years, I know now that it is the team that makes the difference. So. Clearly for me, it's the combination of the founders. Do they have the necessary skills to scale the company? First of all, it's a match between them and me. So chemistry means a lot. Are they willing to learn? Are they able to execute? That's a lot of things that I look into, but for sure the chemistry. I think that the team is even more important than if it is only the product. So if you have the right team, I would nearly say that you're able to create a business no matter which kind of product you have. So it's just extremely important to have the right team, and also that the team are understanding that they actually have sold a part of the company from the beginning, and means also that there comes investors in that actually have an opinion, that are willing to help with setting a direction of the company also. So I think that for sure it is the team, but of course also I look into is there potential in the product? Do the team also know the market? Are they able to make a business out of the product? So I think that's of course also important. And if they have a kind of sales already, that's of course also easier for me to evaluate the product if they already have done sales.
Yeah. So maybe going beyond the team, I would imagine that also sometimes you probably meet teams that are investable, but there might be other gaps. Could you explore or elaborate a little bit what are maybe the most common gaps you see, even with good teams or good or bad teams? But what do they most commonly need to work more on before they can get your investment?
I think in general, I think that especially when you invest into tech companies, like the commercial skills are missing. So it's more like that they have a high tech product with high innovation, but not often really know how to execute a go-to-market plan, for example. So it's more like they have an idea, they don't know really the market size, they don't know the pricing, they don't know how to execute a strategy. So it's many times that they are missing the commercial part here, and I think that can really be a showstopper many times if they don't have that skills into the company. I think also sometimes to see that that people or new startup thinks it's just a walk in the park to make a global company that are able to make profit. So really understanding also from the beginning, it's hard work. There's a lot of challenges during the journey. There's ups and downs, and you need to stand up and really be able to come over challenges situation for you as the founder team, but also for the whole company, and you as the founder, you're the one that's standing in front. So you need to be able to say, okay, we can manage it, we can solve this, we can get into the next step. So I think that's important also, and sometimes I think it is also basically because of the history here, especially also in Odense, that there's made a couple of really big successes also. And I think what I've seen afterwards is okay, we just want to do the same. We want to, create a big company, earn a lot of money, and maybe not being realistic how much effort they actually need to be put into it.
Yeah, it's a big job.
It's really a big job.
Yeah. You also, as you also said, you exited and you stayed behind working with the new owners. And I imagine that, evaluating if that's a good match, as you also said, and that is something you took great care in doing. And you also mentioned it now that the match or the chemistry is very important, but is there any way for a founder team to explore this match or to kind of like get to know? So we're talking to an investor now. It might be friendly, politely, but going from that early stages of open dialogue in the beginning and then later on, is there ways that you can explore if it is a good match or?
Yeah, if I should evaluate companies, I try to follow them for a period. I have actually companies that I invested into that have done the same with me.
Yeah,
which I think it's a good solution.
Yeah.
So reaching out, and they've been really dedicated to say, okay, which kind of skills do we need to have into our investor team? Which people do we want to have on our board? And going dedicated after that, and then try to come in and pitch the case, but also follow up with saying, okay, now we actually move in those milestones that we have planned also, so I can see, okay, they're actually able to execute on the plan that they have also, so let's start we start knowing each other better, but also starting to see that the skills in the teams are the right one, also learning it better to know at the same time.
Yeah. So this is pre-investment actually. Yeah.
This is pre-investment. Yeah.
And you would suggest companies to kind of like do the same approach, like
yes, for sure, because it's even as it is extremely important for me as an investor, is the same important for the startups. So a wrong match can destroy a company. Really, the wrong match between an investor and a startup. So sometimes they also say that even that the valuation is important, doesn't really matter in the beginning if it is the right match or if it is the wrong match, because it can end up destroying the company.
Yeah. Looking maybe a little bit at trends and technologies and how that's developing in the robotic business and the robotics sector, is there anything like in terms of mega trends that you would look into currently at the moment, like as being more attractive to invest in? Maybe maybe it has larger growth rates or whatever. Is there anything like that you're also looking for?
I think that everybody is talking about AI right now, of course. So it's for me, it's more like how can you integrate AI in the technology, but also new markets that are appearing. So agriculture, for example, is coming more into automation also. I think also we see in healthcare more and more robotic solutions, which is, for years ago, it's been very difficult to sell into healthcare. I think that this is going in the right direction. Not only that they're getting better skills into hospitals. When I say skills, it's more like knowledge, automation knowledge, and so on. But also the technology is just getting better year after year. So more and more solutions are able to do now in healthcare also. So for sure, overall, I think that there's a lot of new trends that is going out there. we are not seeing humanoid robots that much into the industry. Let's see. I think that with the investments that are done into that now, for sure there will be part of that can use into more traditional industries also. So I think that's an exciting area also, where of course. When you just have seen what ChatGPT can do for us today compared to what we knew for 2-3 years ago, it's just amazing what kind of development that has done. Also, just for programming and coding today, also how that helps startup companies and even large companies also.
Yeah. Maybe we can explore a little bit about the timing, or from a startup point of view, about when do you actively start looking for investments, or how active at what stages do you look for investments? So, is there some kind of like, just generally speaking, of course, is there some kind of like milestones or important things that the company should acquire or get a hold of before getting investments, or is that kind of like company dependent, or is there something that maybe from your perspective that you would want to see? You mentioned maybe some sales, but it can maybe also for earlier stage startups. Is there something they need to show you, or?
Of course, it's depending, because you can say always it's also mad about the valuation. So as further you get with the company, as higher valuation you can also get as a founder. But of course you can also wait too long. But for me, if the company has sales, it's like a proof of concept in the market. Also, you have customers' feedback. Maybe you have some kind of IP protection also that helps, of course, also if you don't have sales. But of course, having an organization, a team that is able to execute or scale up a company is also very good to have. So for me, it's really a matter about a combination about the right team, which type of product is it, valuations also depends also a lot. So of course, as further the company can get, at easier it is also for me to invest into it, because it takes some of the risk out of my investment. And I have learned also during the last 5-6 years, I have to be careful about how early I get into the startups also, because it's really risky.
Yeah. And are there ways for, let's imagine that you are just trying to stick a little bit with this, but is there ways for startups that are non-commercial yet, or because the product is maybe not fully ready or whatever, to make any ways of market validations that would be interesting for you to see?
If you don't have sales, there's a lot of other ways to find it. You can have customer feedbacks. You can have a product that is out getting tested just, or as I said, IP protection also means a lot also. So everything else around the product that can confirm that there's a market, and of course also again, if you can go out and sell their idea in front of me, and you can convince me that this is there's a huge market, and you are able to finalize the product, and how to scale it also commercially also. So it's a lot about also understanding the strategy for the company and being able to execute it also. So I think that's, if you're in control with that also, I think also it's possible to convince me about it.
Okay, great. I would want to say thank you, Thomas. Thank you so much. It was very, very interesting, and we will see you and meet you again briefly in the Q&A session. But now let's turn to the startup side of the story and welcome Kenneth Skorpen from Blinktroll Robotics. And welcome to you, Kenneth Skorpen, our second guest, CEO and co-founder of Blinktroll Robotics. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Kenneth, Blinktroll recently secured a big investment, and you're in the middle of this early stage roller coaster of the startup life. So we're very much looking forward to hear your how you tackled your journey so far, and how you went from having early stage ideas and prototypes and to the stage where you are now. Maybe let's first hear a little bit about your product.
Yeah, so our product is what we call the simplest possible solution to a complex problem. And the problem is that most of the training for soldiers and police out there is happening on stationary targets. So I imagine if you've seen a film from the Napoleonic Wars, you have one row of red soldiers and one row of blue soldiers, and they line neatly up, and at the cue they fire at each other. Now remove one set of soldiers and put up paper targets. And that's where we are today mostly. Most soldiers go into the shooting range with all their kit, and then they line up in front of some neatly placed paper targets. And so what we set out to do was to make something move, make some realism in ordinary training, really.
Very interesting. Maybe we can have a little bit more of kind of like a hands-on demonstration. Can you show us how it works?
Yeah, sure. So right now we've set up a rope here. They can be set up anywhere, like inside the buildings, between trees, containers. We use cars, tripods. So once you have established a firm rope like that, the robot lives on the rope. And it carries with it various types of targets. What you see here is a plastic target. In the cases where you don't want to use a steel target, it can carry heavy steel targets. And we can equip it with various sensors. So this particular guy here is equipped with a flasher. The target is non-destructive for the bullet, so it doesn't ruin it. And you can pretty much put on anything you want there. And on top, everything is on the robot. So the battery, the motor, the controller, the Wi-Fi. And it is controlled by a tablet like this. Yeah. So the user can do everything himself, put it up and run it to its heart's content.
Very interesting. Sorry, can you say then also maybe a little bit about your interaction with the market in the early stages? How did you get feedback on your product, or test it and demonstrate it, and how were you able to validate with the market that this was a useful product and solved a problem for them?
Yeah, I mean, after I made like the first mock-up, I made a hack in my garage with 3 wheels and batteries and motor and a radio controller. Then we basically CNC'd the prototype. We made the simplest possible control mechanism. And then we went to a shooting range with some military guys that I knew. And we basically put it up there to test. And then you get some feedback right away. And the feedback was like, holy hell, this is cool. Sorry, I'm not supposed to swear, but soldier habit. And we found a lot of positive things they were looking for. They were looking for something to challenge them. So even with the simplest possible hack of a prototype, we got user feedback that way. And then basically we improved that hack a little bit, started selling it. And then we got serious feedback because no people had like skin or money in the game. And then, so we basically went from there. Yeah.
And as we also mentioned in the beginning here, introducing you, you recently secured or closed a funding round. Maybe going into that, can you tell us a little bit about, so from your point of view, why did these investors eventually ended up backing you and your company and your journey?
Good question. Several topics in there really, but I think like fundamentally, on investors, they want to get a return of their money, right? So you have to kind of convince them that you're able to do that, first of all. And it's a responsibility that we take to make sure that we're not just spending money, we're actually, we're kind of loaning money. and we are making sure that we always are conscious about coming to that point where we actually provide revenue and then what the investors are looking for. So when it came to the investors that we eventually went with, I think that they believed that we were able to do that. They believed that we were a good team and we wouldn't stop until we reached those goals. And then it was it was a long journey for us to find those that we ended up with to begin with. And we met lots of nice people, but it has to do with chemistry, it has to do with long-term goals, it has to do with the vision that we have. And those things have to match. So it's not a easy, clear-cut answer. I think you have to really go out there and expose your company and your ideas and your plans to a lot of different people, get a lot of feedback, and learn these things yourself. There's not like one single recipe, I think.
No. Did you do anything in particular? If I remember correctly, this is the first time you tried to secure a funding round in a startup. Maybe just confirm that on yes or no. And if yes, then did you do anything in particular to prepare yourself for that?
Me and my co-founder Øystein, we spent a lot of the time that we've been here on product and then on our vision. And to prepare for that, I think we had to learn what the topic of getting investments is. And you have to go out there and you got to get feedback. And you got to basically talk to investors. You have to talk to VCs and angels and private companies or private offices and so on. So I think that you kind of learn a little bit what they're looking for. And if they have a nice dialogue, they'll ask you nice questions about what they want to see. And then you go like, okay, we haven't really done the homework on that part. Let's try to look into that as well. So it's a dynamic, really, for us at least, has been. So we prepared like honestly, as honest as we could to these things, and basically just worked hard on the numbers, worked hard on the sales strategies, worked hard on the scaling strategies, and then we just like bring that out there, really. Yeah.
And what kind of milestones and developments ahead have you then agreed now with your investors? What was kind of like part of that deal as well, that now you have this money, then you have to do something for it? What is in the roadmap for you going forward?
Well, when we started this thing a little bit more than a year ago here, me and Øystein, we were two guys, obviously, and we had very little money, and we built a structure that we wanted to fill. And that structure is people, and it is products, and it is sales. So we basically said that we are going to be the ones who dominate and lead this training market in particular. So we're the ones who are going to bring realistic targets and systems out to the soldiers of Europe to start with. And once we have established a good foothold there, we'll expand to other markets. So without going into much technical details about what we will bring, that is kind of the idea for the company for now. And that requires people, it requires office spaces and workshops and productions and so on. So that is what we've set out to do. And yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any kind of like also agreed KPIs or goals that are, how will you measure this success or potential success going forward?
Well, since we're very closely connected to the users and we care deeply about what the users do, one metric for us is simply being able to increase soldier efficiency and survivability. That's really important for us, and that's what drives us, really. But obviously that doesn't generate revenue, and we are going to generate revenue, substantial revenue, by going into these markets of Europe first, like I said. And we're trying to establish a certain number. I'm not really comfortable of bringing that number up right now.
Don't worry.
But so there's two metrics for us: revenue and sold your lives.
Yeah.
And those two things work together for our in our company.
Right. Interesting. I'm sure it was also an experience that with some learnings. This going from early stage to people startup and then securing this investment now. Is there anything that you kind of like learned or that you now know that you wished you had known before that you can elaborate on?
Well, like everybody would say that it takes longer than you anticipate, and that's true. I think we've done fairly well in terms of the time we've spent. We've worked hard, and I don't know. There is everything just takes one more week. Every component takes one more week, and suddenly you have 3-4 months longer in a run that you thought you'd be finished with next month. And people who's been in the game for a little while, they would know that. And we're like super optimistic and we're running hard and we're like not really seeing the same things. And then suddenly we look back and we realize that we came across the same things. So there's like a mix between like, I don't care what the others say and taking in some lessons there. But I think like I don't really want to know all the obstacles either, you know?
No.
Because if I knew it all,
Yeah.
like why would I start?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not the mountaineer in business life. I don't really want to scale that mountain and then go for the next mountain and the next mountain. But that's what really happens.
Yeah.
So I think you got to have blind faith in getting to the goal, and you don't know where it is. You're just going.
Yeah.
If you overthink that, you're never going to start. So
Yeah. Just do the mountaineering experience.
just take it as an experience and just like go hard.
Yeah. You are also part of the incubator here. Maybe you can add a few words to how is that helpful? I suppose it is, but how was it helpful then? Or would that be something that would be interesting to other startups or like similar programs?
You know, one of the things that's really good is to kind of be that people bring into your view things that you don't already know. I mean, there are unknowns out there, and people with experience and outside view are able to bring you some points that you haven't really thought about, which they kind of think is important for your business, and they look into your case specifically. So that is really important, I think. And that kind of brutal honesty that you can get like in feedback is like basically that's really valuable. And there is stuff that I would find boring personally to make business plans and to make financial plans and so on. My co-founder Øystein is a lot better than me to do that, but we're like bringing up those very important points through the help and through the outside view of this incubator. So that's really, really important and helpful.
Yeah.
And plus the community, you get into, you get presented with an ecosystem. There's the city who's doing a great job and bringing in new people. And there's being able to talk to investors on like a more or less casual basis to get some feedback and to learn of that process. And you know, when we landed here, companies started calling us to sell us their services. So there's a lot of helpful things that happened in this incubator. Yeah.
And we also discussed with Thomas that teams are important, founder teams, and you also mentioned your co-founder a couple of times during this interview. Did you how much of a or how was your decision-making process in making that co-founder team? Did you already know each other, and maybe you can tell us that part of the story as well?
Yeah. No, we met in Norway, in Bergen, through mutual friends, who's also in a sort of a startup company doing drones. And that guy basically said, you have to meet Øystein. He's a really nice guy. And we met up, and Øystein had a look at what I was doing. solo at that time. And he was like, "This is the coolest thing ever." And I was kind of being a little bit reluctant to kind of bring it further, because I knew it was a lot of work, and I knew that I didn't have all the skill sets that I needed to kind of make a company and make a mature product. So we spent a lot of time together, discussing topics and going for hikes and playing with the product, so to speak. And we had like really good chemistry, and he had some of the skill sets that I didn't have. And he was like energized. We got to bring this out there. This is important. And like we kind of connected on that energy, and that was kind of the start of our relation. We went to Denmark because on Dalo days, we had good traction in Denmark. We had good traction in Europe per se, and that's kind of when the journey in Denmark started. At that point.
And did you evaluate like very deliberately, or did it happen more by chance that you ended up being the two of you and maybe not a third co-founder that had another skill set? Or
no, that kind of came along the way. I kind of immediately realized that he had business education. Yeah, he's a paratrooper. He had business education. He was sharp and had been in companies before, startup companies, and had experience with that. So when we came together, we realized what we were lacking, and then we started looking for that. So Knut is our CTO. He came in a little bit later, and was also kind of fundamental. And it was pure luck that we could actually get him on board, or luck and luck. He kind of really liked what we were doing and wanted to come on board because of that. Maybe that's luck, maybe that's skill, who knows. And then that was the founding team, and that's the foundation. Yeah, so it's kind of grasping the opportunity when it's there.
Yeah. And just to sum up that as well, so you came here a year ago, just two and a half guys.
Yeah.
And where are you now? Can you just give us a little bit the statistics? You are more than two, I know.
You know, it's being so hectic, and every day I come here, there is something new happening. But I think we're 18 people now. Yeah. That is also some interns and some part-time, but we're growing quite fast, and we have lots of great people coming on board. And beginning of August, we're moving into new offices, and so it's really an exciting time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Kenneth. That was super insightful. Thank you for giving us an introduction to the real life of a robotic entrepreneur. I think we should move into the next session and bring back Thomas and take some Q&A. Well, welcome back, Thomas. We have received some questions in the chat, and I think we will just go immediately to one with you, Kenneth. So, how did your company end up in Odense? You maybe touched a little bit upon it, but at least someone is wondering why you are here.
It had to do with the market. First, we were in Dalo days, like I mentioned, and we had pretty good sales in Denmark. We had good relations with FMI, and we had lots of sales in Europe. Norway is outside EU, so some customers were a little bit hesitant to basically deal with Norway. When we came to Dalo days, we were more or less invited to come down here and check out Odense Robotics in the incubator. And that was like an eye-opener for us, because when we've been moving around in the startup scene in Bergen and Norway, there was a lot of fish and oil and medtech and finance, but there was very little hardware as far as we can see. And for us, it was also very important to try to contribute to the war in Ukraine and training the soldiers there. And we noticed that Denmark was a lot more ahead than Norway. So that was like really the foundational for why we started looking into moving here. Yeah.
Mm. And there's a nice bridge to a follow-up question, Thomas. You mentioned AI and healthcare as interesting segments that you are looking into, or that you think will become high growth areas in the future. But someone is asking here, it also seems like defense is on the rise with companies such as Blinktroll.
That's clear.
Is that also something that you are focusing on? Is someone wondering?
It could be. I haven't invested into defense yet, but of course it could be. It's clear that there's a lot of huge investments done right now. So it's, for me, it's more about finding the right company also, and having time also for the investment. So for me, the last year has been also a little bit about cleaning up in my existing investments, being ready to invest into new companies also. For me, when I invest into them also, if I normally spend a lot of times also together with the company. I think that's important also. So and I think also that is expected from the companies also, that you are actively in the company also. So I think that's key for me. So having the time for doing the investments is also important for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that maybe ties nicely to a follow-up question here. I think maybe from a potential investor is asking, what are some specific risks and barriers in the robot industry specifically that early investors should be aware of? So maybe from one investor to another?
No, it's clear that it is very complex. It's long time development. It is hardware, which is like if you for example go to the next step, also looking into what is traditionally VCs investing into, then there's more doing into software than hardware. So there's a smaller team of investors actually also in the early stages, but also in the next steps, also because hardware is just more complex than. But I think when it finally works, it's extremely exciting and can go up high in scale. But for sure there is some complexity in the beginning, both in developing the product, the way to actually the time to get to sales, and then finding the next step investors also is more challenging probably in software companies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and looking at investors from the startup perspectives, someone here is asking about this match that we discussed a little bit, particularly with you, Thomas, but which is of course also very relevant for you, Kenneth. That is there some steps, or what steps could a founding team take to evaluate and avoid being misaligned with investors? I think maybe both of you could maybe give it that question a go. You first, Kenneth. What steps did you take, if any?
I think we were kind of fortunate or skilled, or both, that we are able to have revenue, so we could be a little bit more calm in the whole process. We were not like forcing a cliff that we had to kind of jump on. So we were able to take our time to make sure that we kind of did all our own homework and met with a lot of investors to discuss what they were looking for. So I think that that was what we were fortunate with.
Yeah, and I think you touched upon it in our discussion as well, Thomas. But maybe I don't know if you have anything to add. But
no, but for sure the chemistry is important. And then if you go into investments, also this is what I see also, that it's very important that there is no misunderstanding afterwards. Also, so can you find a clear way to report? That's important also, so you as investor really understand what is going on in the company. There's no misunderstanding in that. It's important to have, in one of the company that I invest into, we talk about clear is kind. Clear is kind means that you can take open and direct also to investors, because if you don't do that, and you can also do that to your colleagues, your founders, co-founders, and so on. So there's no misunderstanding. So instead of trying to not talk about it, talk clear and direct, because I think that ends up with the best solutions in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have investors not from Denmark, and you have worked with that as well, Thomas. And someone here is also asking, so how can you, in a smaller ecosystem like the one where we are here, attract international investors? I mean, yeah, I can see, Kenneth, you already have some thoughts on that question.
We have a Danish investor as well in Final Frontier. And we have a Norwegian family office that was that we ended up with learning well to know. But we have been going through different venues in Copenhagen or in Oslo or in other cities. And when you travel around and you go to events like that, you talk to people. And somebody will say, let me introduce you to that person, speak to that person they might know. So there's a little bubble in Norway that kind of also encapsulate a little bit of Denmark and vice versa. And we would have happily have gone with a Danish family office or investor if that was the match at that point. So we weren't specifically looking for neither a Norwegian or a Danish. We were looking for the right match, and we were kind of going quite wide in that search.
Yeah. Talking to people going out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Nobody will approach you. That's for sure. It's like, I think a lot of the good ideas, there are probably some fantastic ideas out there in garages that will never come out because you don't do that search.
Yeah.
Go out and be active and find ways to get it into the market. So, or finances.
Yeah, it can be difficult, as you said, just to get the contact to investors or VCs or whatever it is. So I think that's sometimes also it's a matter about making some noise, really trying to make some noise, and don't be too polite about that. So if you can go into different kind of awards and you're winning, or you're doing a lot of activities on SoMe's and so on, that's how we as investors learn about the companies. And then it's not the first time that we see you when you're there. So that helps. And if you get I do a lot of pitches every week it's really difficult to manage to look into one-to-one sessions with everyone. So sometimes it's a matter about finding a way in that is different, and I think that's good if you can make some noise sometimes. Yeah. And then I say, okay, that could be an interesting company, and then could be a chance also for an investment later on.
Get noticed.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. I thought so. There's someone, I think Kenneth maybe actually have asked you yourself, Thomas, but someone is asking if there's any advice you could give to Kenneth moving forward.
That's a good question. I don't think so, but I think Ken is already doing very well, and I met Kenneth many times, and I do like his personality, and also Einstein, he'd say his co-founders also, they are a good team together, have the right skills also combined also. So I think that's really a good combination to have, and that's probably also the reason they have already funding. So I think they're on the right track.
Kenneth, someone is also asking you, I think that it would be great to have this, it's even though it's a very much more detailed question, but someone is wondering how you are actually selling. Is it through defense contractors or in any other ways? So how do you create this revenue currently?
We are selling directly to customers. In most countries, we have distributors.
You have distributors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that when it comes to defense, you probably have to talk to a local or a company in that country. because all the acquisition processes are different. So it usually pays off to have somebody who's more or less specializing in that. So we've been fortunate to have some good distributors around, and they help us set up demos for customers, for example. But a lot of the early purchase that we have was basically the customers reaching out to us and asking for the products. So, yeah.
So that was also based on being noticed, or?
Yeah. To begin with, we had like 0 online presence, but we were lucky enough or skilled enough, if you want, to sell to some special forces.
Yeah.
The special forces, they co-train all over Europe. So if somebody from Denmark came to Norway, they bought it. Somebody from Germany came to Denmark, and so it evolves. And that's how it started out. So we got like validation from like the best customers out there. And then we were able to grow from there.
And then those customers were meeting each other? Was that your point? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So without doing any marketing, they were like noticing the product and reaching out to us directly. We sold them that, and then we were able to build on that and then expand into distributors who can then reach into the larger markets in the various countries. But I think it's really difficult to sit in Norway and sell to the acquisition organization in Germany, for example. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
So they want a local partner. The same goes for Spain and France and wherever you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is very interesting, and I think there's maybe some similarities with your journey as well, Thomas, in this particular working with distributors. Maybe can you add a little bit about scaling fast through distributors, because you were very successful in doing that?
That's a good question. I think that working with distributors is special because you don't have necessary direct contact with the customers, so you're so much depending on them. But I think you're actually also able to demand of distributors. So for me, it's like in the end, we were setting up having not weekly but monthly meeting with our distributors and saying, okay, what is the plan for the distributor for a year? What is your expectation to sell? So if you said 20 robots, I say, what does it mean? How many customers should you visit? And then month by month, making sure you know which customers he should visit, and he actually have done it also afterwards. And make sure that he's motivated always. So, of course, top of mind should be your product, but he should be motivated by selling your product. So make sure that the contribution is enough for him. You support him on a technical way, but also on a marketing way also. So I think that was some of the stuff that we are really good at doing at both UR and MIR. So supporting, but also demanding. I think that's important, that you can actually also demand that. And then, make sure that you now and then also talk directly to the customers, because unless you are too depending on your distributors and you maybe not really know what's going out at the end customer.
Yeah.
I hope my sales team is watching this as well.
Yeah, you can have them watch it afterwards. But you call it demanding, or to be demanding of the distributors, or to be demanding towards them. How is maybe that's a challenge for some startups to kind of like move into a state of mind where they are asking distributors that might be busy and know more about the market and stuff like that, and then be demanding towards those.
Yeah, for sure. That's normal. I think also in the beginning with both UR and me, we couldn't be that demanding as we were in the end. But I think maybe you should look at which kind of distributors you start with.
Yeah.
Maybe find smaller distributors where your product is more important for his business than it is for a big company. So I think that's important to see in the beginning. Okay, maybe you're not that powerful because your company and your product is not that well known yet. But for a smaller distributor, it can mean a lot. So I think, and then support him in the beginning, and then you will see hopefully this distributor, small distributors, developing together with you are developing your company. Because I saw that many of our distributors were small distributors in the beginning, but ending up being really big because they were developing together with us, which was fantastic. If they're not, you have to change them.
So don't be worried about that either. Yeah.
So I think that's a matter again about demanding. You need to be demanding of your distributors, which if you want to sell that way and be successful.
Yeah. All of these thoughts about that Thomas also mentioned about, choosing the right type of, at least very early on, like being very strategic about how large is the distributor and so forth. Did you give a lot of thoughts into that as well, or?
Yeah. I basically called all my friends, ex-military guys who worked in the sector, and I said, I'm going into that country. You know anybody?
Yeah.
I got suggestions, and I called them and had video talks with a few in some of the countries at least. And that's how I started with the first ones, just to get some experience from other people. And like he says, it's important that they have the right size. If you just become one little part in their portfolio, their potential revenue of what you bring is not enough for them to dedicate enough time of it. So from our perspective, that's it's got to be enough for them in revenue to make it really interesting for them. And like he says, you can actually demand things from them. What are you doing? I haven't heard anything last month. What are your sales efforts? What's going on with that customer? What we've been trying to do as well, since it's a specialized product, is to, like when they're doing demos, we arrive there and we help them set it up, and we're kind of the experts on the topic. So we support them, they support us, kind of deal. And then when they learn a little bit more about it, they're maybe able to do it themselves. But very often we'll go there and help them showcase the products the first times, at least. Yeah.
And you were able to do sales early on, which is, of course, not every company is able to do that, given the roadmap they have in product developments and so forth. So there can be different reasons for that. But can you then still, also Thomas was talking about it, maybe from your perspective, say a little bit about this? How does sales actually then work well together with investors, how do those two things work together?
Well, we're kind of, I'm not sure I quite grasp the question, but we're like, we started with sales and it was a complete hack. And then we kind of, once we got a little bit revenue, we fixed that and we came up with the next product.
Yes.
And we kind of went to the customers who's got the first product and we say, hey guys, we made something new. Do you want to exchange it and get a better product? And they all said, yes, cool. So then we get feedback on that one as well. So once we started coming towards this investor track, we already have some revenue. It's not significant, and it was certainly not enough to scale the company at that time. And then we're kind of doing it again. Now we're improving it a little bit more to make sure that the customers are even more happy and they want more systems. And so there's a balance here. We use the revenue to improve the product and to improve the sales efforts and to bring more products out there, to bring more benefits for the users. And that's the synergy, sales and investment. So like I said, we're now basically I'm telling the guys that we loan some money and we're going to make sure that they get it back.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing right now. So I'm not sure if that answered the question.
I think it answered perfectly the question. Thank you very much. And thank you to you as well, Thomas. Thank you, both of you. This was a very interesting discussion. Thanks for sharing your perspectives. I hope that everyone out there learned a little bit as well. So we hope that you found this episode valuable. And we would very much like to see you back here in our next show, which will be September 9th. But until then, stay curious and keep building the future.
Mm-hmm.